I know how it feels to feel great. Something is off. My brain usually just is like, goes, and I can just make a decision and move to the next thing and talk about the next thing. And it was like literally a cloud was over my brain.
Karalynne Call is the founder and CEO of Just Ingredients. But long before she built her fast-growing wellness company, she went through a tremendously difficult health journey of her own. She was in one of the darkest seasons of her life, struggling with her health, her mental well-being, and simply trying to survive every day. And what makes her story so powerful isn't just the brand she's built, but the honesty with which she shares the journey behind it. She shares with us today the healing, the setbacks, the grief, and what it really looks like to prioritize health while raising 6 kids and being the CEO of a large company. In this conversation, Karalynne shares with us how she built her own health from the ground up, and how Just Ingredients was born out of personal struggle and the pressure that can come with being a health influencer when life isn't perfect. We also talk about the habits that matter most that she has maintained and that she is happy to share with all of us to help us in our own health journeys. This is an honest and thoughtful conversation with an amazing woman, Karalynne, who is so gracious in sharing with us everything that she's gone through to get to where she is today, and I think you'll really enjoy it.
There will be times in my life that I feel it, but I feel like I now am educated with power, because that power is the education to know to go get help. Knowing that my body doesn't feel right, knowing that I need to feed it the correct nutrients, things like that. I have that empowerment to help when the depression sits in.
Karalynne, you have started Just Ingredients, and you have shared pretty openly about the whole length of your journey, even from the very lowest points, which was sort of where Just Ingredients was started. Will you take us back there and share with us what was that like in those lowest points?
Just Ingredients became about 18 years later after a whole health journey I went through, but I will tell you, and actually talking to an OBGYN about this would be interesting, but it's been, oh my goodness, 20 years ago now, almost 20 years ago, I found myself with really bad depression. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't always had this depression. And so I was like, what is going on? And I didn't know much about health or nutrition or anything, but I did know I haven't always felt this way, so something has to be off. And I kept thinking if you break your bone and give it the right tools, it heals. You
Mm-hmm.
cut your finger, give it a Band-Aid, and it will heal on its own. So I kept thinking there's got to be something out there. And at this time, I should tell you, I had 3 little kids, and I had a 1-year-old at the time. And I didn't really start feeling this until the baby was over 1. And so I don't know if this is the same anymore, but I went to my OBGYN, I went to other OBGYNs, I went to multiple doctors trying to find help. And they all kept telling me that it wasn't postpartum depression because the baby was over 1. Is that still the case today?
It's just a label, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what is postpartum depression? I mean, it's just mood changes in the time after you have a baby, and there are reasons and things, but it's a label, and it is still the diagnostic criteria. But
all right, so I was going to these doctors looking for help because I would go to these doctors, and granted this was 20 years ago, they would say, there's nothing that we can do to heal depression. All we can do is give you an antidepressant. And I would say, well, will the antidepressant heal me? And they would say, no, not really. It's just going to help with the symptoms. And I was like, I just want to find something to heal. Well, this depression kept going on for a couple years, and it was getting worse and worse. People think that depression just means you're laying in bed, and it's more than that. It can be anger, it can be frustration, it can be the inability to make decisions. It can be some days, you do just want to be in bed, but then there's other days you get up and fake it. And I was experiencing all of the emotions. And I remember holding my child in a rocking chair, just crying one day because people kept saying to me, look for the light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember just sitting going, there is no light at the end of this tunnel. It is pure black. And I lost hope in that there was healing out there. And it's the loss of hope that just caused me to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm a terrible mom to these kids. I'm a terrible wife. I hate my life. I hate being here. Every day is so miserable. And so I had it, and one day went and attempted suicide. And thankfully, by the grace of God, miracles happen, and the act failed. And so it was at that moment when the act failed that I was like, oh my goodness, I was 2 seconds away from not being here. And I'm like, I have truly hit rock bottom. I've got to go find help. So at this point, my husband realized how serious it was and helped me for 2.5 years trying to find a doctor. I did go on antidepressants. I tell everybody there's a time and a place for them. And for me, I needed them to be life-saving. But in those 2.5 years, I realized how much I hated them also, though, because I felt seatbelted in my emotions. I never felt that terrible depression, but I also never felt joy. And so I was searching really hard for 2.5 years to find somebody that could help me, and finally found a doctor who was like, I can help you, but there's no magic pill for this. Like, are you ready to do the work? And I'm like, you have no idea how ready I am. Like, I will do anything, just help me. And so she taught me that depression is your body screaming for help, and everybody's depression is going to be different because every body is telling something else. And so she said, we've got to do some blood work and some urine tests and some saliva tests, and let's just do as many tests as we can to just figure out what's going on with your health. And I had little things from just being low in vitamin D and low in magnesium to bigger things of my cortisol was high when it should be low and low when it should be high, and I had some liver issues, and then to things of like food intolerances. And I mean, the list was probably 20 things long of things that I was dealing with. And so she's like, no wonder why you're dealing with depression. Your body wants to do you good, but it's got to be fueled properly in order to do its best for you in return. And so I went on a 2-year journey with her, just learning about nutrition and learning how to fuel my body properly. And then after about a year time of working with her, we started weaning off the antidepressants. And then that was now maybe 15 years ago, because by the time I found all those doctors, it's been about 15 years that I have not had to go back on antidepressants, because she taught me the foundation of how to nourish my body properly. And then I went and did more schooling and things like that to learn more. And I just feel like now I know how to nourish my body so that when depression ever creeps back in, I can combat it.
In that year that you were really struggling and trying, I mean, it was multiple years that you were struggling, but in that year of working with her, how quickly did you start feeling that hope come back? I think a lot of people think that, oh, I had this appointment with this doctor I trust. By a month from now, I'll feel better. How did that rate of improvement go?
So I had finally hope, because I was like, oh, okay, she's doing all these different tests. We're figuring it out. She did find a lot of things wrong. So I had hope. But then people always ask me, well, when did you start feeling better? And the problem was, because I was making all these lifestyle changes and doing these new things while on antidepressants, it actually was really hard for me to notice a true difference. Because again, I was seatbelted in those emotions and I was numb. And so I didn't really notice the difference until after I had weaned off the antidepressants and I had made all those lifestyle changes and improved my nutrition and my supplements and things. And I remember it was actually close to Christmas time. And I can remember sitting on the couch and laughing for the first time in years. And I just started crying like, I haven't felt that in years. And that was just the best moment ever. And so people always want to know, like, will I feel better in a month, 2 months, 6 months? And I'm like, I can't help you there. Like, every body is different in what you do and what the actions you change, and things all make a difference.
In functional medicine, we use the term root cause, and it has its time and place. But a lot of people think that if they do enough testing, they'll find the one thing. And that, I think, is residual from our conventional medical approach, right? If you can find that I have strep throat, or that I have a sinus infection, or, if you find the thing, then you'll fix the thing and then I'll feel better. Share what that was like to find out that you had so many little things that needed attention.
Yeah, that's actually a good thought. I hadn't thought about that people do want just one root cause. And I tell people all the time, it's like those going through cancer and stuff too. If we knew the one root cause, we'd solve the problem of cancer. And so it's the same with depression. Everybody's going to have different root causes, because my nutrient deficiencies is going to be different than somebody else's nutrient deficiencies. My trauma is going to be different than somebody else's trauma, whatever is causing that depression or whatever illness to happen. And so we have to look at the body as a whole. And I look at the body as a whole physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and all parts need to be fixed in order to be healed. And so, but it is sort of overwhelming at first when it was like, oh yeah, it's your magnesium, it's your vitamin D, it's your B vitamins. You're not absorbing your B vitamins. It's food intolerances. You got this with your liver, and you're like, oh wow, that is a lot. So
you're depressed.
Yeah. So it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine during that time that you would build a company that would help people going through what you've gone through?
No, never in a million years. Never. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you how Just Ingredients
got
started?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so about 7 years ago, I actually felt like everybody around me, neighbors, community members, extended family members, they all were dealing with anxiety, depression, autoimmune conditions, migraines, chronic fatigue, chronic joint pain. I mean, you name it, someone in my life was dealing with it. And I was like, I just wish I could go into these people's homes for 30 days and cook for them and grocery shop for them. I know I could help them like lower their inflammation and just feel a little bit better. And of course you can't do that, and you can't go tell your neighbor or whoever, right? And so I was like, I'm just going to start a little Instagram account, and I just want to get to 2,000 followers. That's my goal. I do have 6 kids, and so I wanted to show people that you don't have to eat like a kale and sardine diet, because I felt like at the time everything on Pinterest and things were like these elaborate bowls and these elaborate foods. And I was like, I've got kids who want mac and cheese and hamburgers and pancakes still. So I'm like, I'm going to, on this Instagram account, just show people how to make easy swaps at the grocery store and show like, hey, this ketchup right here has high fructose corn syrup in it. This one doesn't. That's sitting right next to it. And they're only a penny difference. So grab the one without high fructose corn syrup. 7 years ago, no one else was really doing this. And so the word just spread really fast, and people started sharing these little easy tips because they were doable tips for the busy mom or the busy person. And so that grew my Instagram account. And at one point, once I hit about 100,000 followers, I started selling these little cheat sheets of like the top 10 things to look for at the grocery store, or if you're having a new baby, the top 10 non-toxic products I would buy. And they started selling really well. So I was like, oh, I actually have a customer base. I thought it was just educating, but I also have a customer base. So I'm like, I'm going to start making products that I can't find out there that I would love to have, and just see if there's others out there that would like them also. And people started buying those products, and so that's how Just Ingredients was born.
But that still skips a giant step, which was how on earth did you go from being I don't know your other professional background, but a mom of 6 kids, to knowing how to build a company and to start creating products. Tell us what that journey was like, trying to figure that out.
This is how I've done it. I've actually just pretended the business was my family. So I tell anybody who's been a mom can also run a business, because as a mom, I was budgeting all the time. We were so tight on a budget for years and years. Well, when you start a business, you have no money. So you're really tight with your money. So it was the same thing. And then I even laugh now with employees, with lots of employees, they're just grown-up kids, because if they don't get along, literally last week I said, you guys, I didn't allow drama in my house. I won't allow it in my company. And the same boundaries I had in my house growing up are the same boundaries I expect here at this office, things like that. So it's funny. It's just running a business to me is like running a family. It's just grown-up kids, and you're always solving problems as a mom. Right? Like every day there's a new problem. One day you're trying to help someone that skinned their knee, and the next day you're helping with homework of math that you've forgotten, but then the next day your daughter's not getting along with someone at school and you're trying to solve that. And so you're solving problems every day, and at work as a business owner, that's what you're doing. It's just solving problems every day to see how you can make things successful.
Yeah, I think that is what you've brought with you from being a mom of 6 kids, is that ability to govern and multitask and solve problems. And I love that. I think that's really inspiring.
Well, and I would say too, if anyone's wanting to start a business, I knew nothing about business. I had graduated in math. I was a mathematician. And so I just started with 2 products, a deodorant and a serum, crazy enough. And I was like, oh, I don't even have a logo. I guess I need a logo. And then I'm like, wait, how do I ship these? Do I ship them out of my house? Do I find somewhere to ship them? And then I was like, okay, well, if I ship them out of my house, I don't even have a box. I just tell people, if you want to start a business, to me, it's the same as a health journey, in the fact that it's one little step at a time.
Yeah.
Because I do tell people, like, when you get on a health journey, don't make it overwhelming and don't make it huge. Just do one little step at a time. And it's the same thing with a business of, okay, I'll create a logo. Okay, I'll find out where to get boxes to even ship in. Okay, we'll start shipping in my house. Okay, you know what I mean? So it's just one little step at a time.
There are a lot of parallels there. When you look at your own health journey of those little steps at a time, was there one thing or two things that made the biggest impact for you in that health journey of kind of coming back up to yourself?
Again, it's hard to say being on those antidepressants, but I will tell you that when I started working with this doctor, I knew nothing about nutrition. Like, I was raised eating Frosted Flakes for breakfast before we left for school. I probably had bologna sandwiches on white bread at lunch. You know, who knows when I had a fruit or vegetable. And so I remember the doctor saying, like, one of the very first questions was, do you ever eat a whole grain? And I was like, yeah, probably. And she's like, well, how about like quinoa? And I was like, what? What is quinoa? Like, I didn't even know what that was. And so I had to go with her on a slow journey, meaning I told her at one point, if you just tell me all these things I have to do, I'm going to throw my hands up in the air and be like, forget it. Like, I'm too overwhelmed. And so it was one little step at a time, but it was learning things from her because at the time we were so poor. She'd be like, okay, I really want you to get on a probiotic. And I was like, those are expensive. I cannot do that. Like, I can't afford that. And she'd be like, okay, just, you're going to go to the store and get kimchi, and you're going to have spoonfuls of kimchi every day, and that's going to count as your probiotics. And then she'd be like, okay, you need vitamin D, but I know you're not going to want to buy it, but go spend time every single day outside. And we lived in Arizona at the time. So it was like, and then she talked about movement. Okay, I know you can't afford a gym, but go walk every single day out in the sun. And so for me, exercise and being out in the sun was huge for me. And I think that probably helped the most, on top of adding in real foods into my diet of fruits and veggies and all the good things with the nutrients.
I love this though, because it wasn't some big fancy overhaul that you could do at the time. You didn't go find the latest, greatest clinic with IV therapies and with red light panels. And those are great and we love them. But also I love just the proof that it doesn't have to be that to start with.
Yeah, I just did a post the other day saying, like, all of those expensive health gadgets and tools aren't going to do anything if you haven't gotten your sleep, your stress, your movement, and your food choices in order.
Yeah.
Because why go spend the money on the red light panels and all that if you're still eating Oreos all day long?
Yeah.
You
They
know
can't
what I
work
mean?
on nothing. They can't work without
Yeah.
substrate. Yeah, I love that. Do you ever have times where you dip back down into those lows?
I do sometimes, but honestly, I now can see it and I can help it. So there's two incidences in my life where I've really noticed it. The first time was 7 years ago when my first son left the house and moved out of the house to go to college. To me, that just was life-changing. I had all 6 kids under one roof, and then all of a sudden he moved away. And so I could really feel that depression creep in. But I also know that for me, I have to exercise and I have to get my B vitamins. I just know I don't feel good without my B vitamins and good food. If I just have too much sugar, things like that, I don't feel good. So when I felt that creeping in with him leaving, I was like, okay, I have to get to the gym every morning. Yeah. I have to take those B vitamins. I have to nourish my body. And so then it went away. The other time that I felt it creep in was actually this past year when my sister unexpectedly passed away. Yeah. And I did have to go get help because I was like, I know how it feels to feel great. Something is off. My brain usually just is like, goes, and I can just make a decision and move to the next thing and talk about the next thing. And it was like literally a cloud was over my brain. I just didn't have the energy. I felt that depression coming in. So I went and got all my blood work done. So this was in January of last year. So July, so 6 months, 7 months, whatever that is, before I had my blood work done and my hormones. And like my progesterone estrogen ratio was really good. And so just 6 months later, after the death of my sister, I did the blood work and my progesterone and estrogen were at a 0. Mm-hmm. Like there was nothing. And they say that trauma and huge stress like that, because it was an accident she was in, so we weren't expecting this. Yeah. That stress just plummeted my hormones to nothing. And so I had to do HRT actually for that to help get everything back up and going and things. And so there will be times in my life that I feel it, but I feel like I now am educated with power, because that power is the education to know to go get help. Knowing that my body doesn't feel right, knowing that I need to feed it the correct nutrients, things like that, I have that empowerment to help when the depression sits in.
Yeah, that first trusting yourself to say something's off and I know it because this is not me. This is not how I feel. And then having your toolkit of the first time you mentioned of getting exercise and tidying up your food and cutting out sugar and doing those things. And then knowing when to get help and go get more testing done. Do you feel more pressure as a health influencer or as the owner of a health brand? Do you feel more pressure when you have dips in your health does it feel bad to you to kind of share that?
No, and honestly, I get this question a lot. Like, do you feel pressure as a health influencer to like live a healthy lifestyle? And I'm like, no, because one, it is my lifestyle. Like if I were pretending, then yeah, that would be a lot of pressure on you to be like, oh my gosh, I have to pick the right things at the grocery store, or I have to. But this is the life I've chosen because it's kept me out of depression. It's given me a life of happiness and energy and fulfillment. And so I love living my life this way. So to me, there's no pressure, but I could totally see how there's pressure if you were just sort of pretending you live this life or live this life 80% of the time. Like I really do live this lifestyle. I mean, there will be times that I want a fun dessert or a sugary thing, but I also know how bad my body feels if I were to eat too much of it. So I just don't. It's just, I don't know. I look at that depression as a gift given to me to know how to take care of my body for the rest of my life. And so I don't feel the pressure that way. And when things happen, like the trauma, I've done posts about, you guys, my hormones plummeted. I actually didn't realize that so much stress like that could just make them go from a healthy level to nothing. Like women, go get help if you're feeling this way.
Yeah.
And so I'm very transparent on Instagram, and I'm like, I had brain fog. Like, man, go get help if you're having that, because now not having the brain fog, I feel so much better. So to me, because I'm transparent about my life, I don't feel the pressure.
You shared recently that you got called out for buying cookies at the grocery store. Share what that was like.
That was funny. So I did get called out on a social media platform for buying chicken nuggets and cookies. And I was like, 100% I was buying those. I'm not going to fake it. Like, yeah, this is the better choice, chicken nugget. And yeah, we do have an awesome homemade recipe. And sometimes for dinner, we do get the homemade recipe. But sometimes we're busy. And guess what? I'm going to just put them in the oven or whatever. And so I just showed them, yep, this is the better choice. For me, there's no perfect choice of chicken nuggets out there. The best choice is homemade. So I'm like, this is the better choice, you guys. I don't love it has canola oil in it, but at least it's expeller pressed. And then I'm like, yeah, cookies, my kids, they're not eating a kale and sardine diet. They're enjoying the everyday foods of pancakes, waffles, hamburgers, cookies, but we're using the better choice ingredients that will nourish their body when they're enjoying those. So people get it like twisted, like, because they'll say, do you ever make cookies for your kids? Well, of course I do, but I use the organic flour or a kamut flour, and I do use grass-fed butter, and I just want to use the ingredients that are going to help their bodies grow and develop in the best way and not just feed them a bunch of crap.
You know, we're all about choosing products that will work with our bodies without causing harm to our bodies. That is why I want to share with you one of my favorite brands. This is a brand I use regularly and consistently in my own life and in my family, and it is Just Ingredients. From their electrolytes and probiotics to their protein and bone broth powders, every product is made with clean, simple ingredients you can actually pronounce and trust, without artificial sweeteners, no fillers, no junk, just real functional nutrition to support your energy, your gut, your hormones, and more. Our team uses these daily and recommends them often in clinic. If you're looking for products that align with your wellness goals, Just Ingredients is a great place to start. One of my favorite things about them is that I don't have to work very hard because they've already done the work. So I don't have to spend time looking at the labels and trying to find the ingredients, trying to remember what I was supposed to avoid. They just do that all for me. So I know anything that I buy from them is already screened and is something that I can trust. Use code UPLIFT for her for 10% off at justingredients.us. Now back to the show. In the health and wellness space, there is this idea that it's all or nothing. Like you are the healthy granola hippie mom, which I say lovingly because I aspire, to be there. But you have to do that 100% or don't bother. What do you say to people when they say, oh, I couldn't do it the way you're doing it, so I'm not going to bother?
I know, and I get that a lot, and I wish, like one of my very top posts pinned talks about that it's a health journey is not perfection. It's just making better steps, improvements every day, because it does look like people are living this perfect lifestyle. And there is no one out there that can live a perfect lifestyle, or eat a perfect diet. You can't eat a perfect diet because the perfect foods don't even exist out there. And so you just need to do your best and make better choices every day.
And it's enough.
Yeah, and that is enough. And when nights I need my microwaved or oven cooked chicken nuggets, then we have those.
Yeah. Was there ever a moment where sharing publicly felt particularly oppressive, where you just wanted to throw it all away and go live your life more privately?
There are times, all the time. You get a really thick skin being on social media because you can't say anything without someone attacking you. I'm just going to try to educate and help people, and the haters can be haters. But yeah, you do have to get a thick skin. And the first few times that people attacked me pretty hard, I did want to give up. I was like, this isn't worth it. Like, this is mean. They are terrible. Yeah, I want to be done. But then you grow that thick skin, I guess, to it.
What was that like for you and your family in that transition where it was like, oh, this might actually be turning into something, like this is catching on or being recognized at the store?
Yeah, that has been weird because, like you said, we were just a family. I was a stay-at-home mom with 6 kids, and no one cared what we were doing, and
Yeah.
so some of my kids love it, and some of my kids don't love it as much, and you can probably tell on my stories, there's a few that love to be on the camera all the time, and they love being noticed in public, and then there's others who don't like to be on my stories, and I totally respect that. They're not on my stories very often because they don't like it. Mm-hmm. Those that like it, sure, they can be on the camera doing the things. And so I've tried to respect the kids, though, as well through all of this of, okay, if you enjoy it, come help me, be on the camera, talk to people when we're out in public. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I don't want to push you into this.
What has that been like for them to see their mom be so successful? Have they commented on that, or do they see that?
Well, I know they see the hard work,
Yeah.
but they also know to stand up for what you believe in, because there has been so much pushback, especially before COVID. People thought I was crazy on Instagram, what I was teaching. Like, they were like, whatever, everything on the store shelf is safe. It's all nourishing. There's just so much pushback. And I just had seen my life change so much by nourishing it properly. And I just had this real desire to help others since I had been in that place of depression. And so they would be like, just quit, Mom. Like, why are you even doing this? And I'd be like, because I believe in this so strongly. Like, you have a mom who believes in something and is going to stand up for what she believes in. And so they do know that. They're always like, oh, Mom stands up for what she believes in. And because I believe that we can live a happy, healthy life, but so many are so miserable out there, and they just have lost their hope and want to be done. And I'm like, no, we've got to be teaching that there's hope out there, there's healing out there. And so I guess for my kids, because sometimes I get nervous of like, shoot, all they're going to remember is this mom that worked all the time and wasn't a good mom. But then the flip side of that is, no, they've seen me work, and they've seen me work hard and push through a lot of problems and challenges, and they know they're learning how to work hard as well and learning how to stand up for what they think is right.
So how do you do it all? How do you have 6 kids and a busy business and maintaining all of these health habits? A lot of people feel like these health habits take too much time or too much money, and yet you've managed to now build a brand and raise your children and do these health habits. How do you do it all?
Yeah, so the health habits are just part of my life, right? So to me, that's not anything extra. It's I go to the gym every morning. I pray every morning. We have breakfast every morning. Like, that's just my life. Mm-hmm. We've got to eat, so I'm going to eat nourishing food. So to me, that's just, but that took time, right? That did take years of learning how to better my choices and learning to love the gym and learning to love my body. You know what I mean? And lots of years of reading ingredients on labels and taking forever at the grocery store to find the right product. And, you get better at all those things. If I need a pasta, I'm not going to go look up and down the whole pasta aisle. Now I know exactly which pasta I like. We grab it, we go.
And hopefully you've made that easier for other people,
other moms
hopefully.
Who are looking.
Yeah.
So that part, I say, just do your health journey one little step at a time, so it's not overwhelming and doesn't take a ton of time. But working and being a mom, as you know, is super busy. But someone gave me a really great piece of advice that I try to pass on to people because it's helped me calm my stress as to, oh my gosh, am I at work too much? Or, oh, am I at home too much and not now focusing on my business? And so she told me, she's a working mom, and she said, Karalynne, to cut a log, like a big piece of wood, you need a saw. And that saw goes back and forth, back and forth. If that saw were to just stay still or neutral or balanced, no work would get done. That saw would be ineffective because the piece of wood wouldn't break. So for that saw to be effective, you got to go back and forth, back and forth. And she's like, you are a saw that goes to your family, back to your work, to your family, back to work. And she's like, the problem comes when that saw gets stuck in one place. And so I love it because like Black Friday was really busy at work. And I was like, okay, that's okay. My saw is going to dip into the work side of things. But as soon as that's over, we're traveling as a family to go see other family for Thanksgiving. And my saw will move back to the family side and we'll spend time there. We'll come back and it'll go back to work. So that saw has to go back and forth between work and family to be effective. So I just love that analogy.
I love that. What was your dream for Just Ingredients? You mentioned as an Instagram account, it was just sharing there. And then you had those first 2 products. At that point, was your dream like, okay, I've got a couple products? Or when did you start to see this bigger dream?
So I sort of laugh when you ask about the dream because my dream keeps changing every day, every year. My dream at first was just to get 2,000 followers. Then when I started making products, I did the deodorant and serum, and I call those practice products because it's how we got our business up and running. Then we made the protein powder. And so my dream was just to get into Harmon's grocery store. If I got into Harmon's grocery store, then we had made it.
Which is a big dream.
Yeah. And then if we did that, we were done. We got in there like 3 years ago. So then after we got in there, I was like, oh, I want to do more. Like there's still way more people out there I can help. And so the dream keeps evolving and keeps growing. And as I see it help others, it gives me like fire to keep going. Because for instance, a few years ago, I had some manufacturing companies come to me and say, hey, will you teach us how to do this? How do you make with real food? Like we only know how to use flavors, artificial flavors, natural flavors. Tell us how you really do this. And so I was like, oh, I'm not just teaching people now. I'm teaching companies, manufacturing companies, how to do this for other people. And so I'm like, this is a ripple effect that could really benefit us later in, all of America. When I launched my protein powder 4.5 years ago, there really were no other players in the space. There was like 2 others. Now there are a lot of protein powders made with real food, which is awesome. But then my dream keeps going because now for 2026, we're playing in the energy can space because no one knows how to make it with real food. And so we tried this year and our manufacturer fired us because we were clogging all of their filters with guava and strawberry seeds. And they were so mad. And we called all across the US and no one knows how to manufacture with real food. They all were like, if you change to natural flavors, we'll manufacture. And so I was like, oh, this is like when we were protein powders and I had to teach them how to do real food. Now I can play in the energy can space and teach manufacturers how to make with real food. So I'm hoping I can do that this year. And then maybe in 4 or 5 years, we'll see lots of energy cans out there actually made with real food. So my dream just keeps getting bigger as to what needs I see out there that I could potentially help somebody with.
Can you give us any other hints about where your bigger dream is headed in the future?
That's the problem is I don't know my big dream. I just sort of take it year by year. So we launch in Target next year. And so to me, that's a huge dream. In fact, my sister who passed away, she loved Target. She loved Just Ingredients. And I always would say like, oh, we've made it big if we made it in Target. Like that will be done. Like that's the thing. And I feel like she's on the other side orchestrating all that to make it happen because how it's happened has been like a huge miracle and blessing. And so I'm like, okay, she's on the other side helping us get into Target. But now that we're going to be in there, I'm like, no, there's still work for me to do. All of it is like, I'm doing it because of a mission base. Like I really feel like I was given a second chance at life for something. And for years and years, I couldn't figure out what that second chance at life was. I actually felt guilty that I survived when I know so many other people haven't. And so I felt a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of victim mentality. And it's just been these last few years that I'm like, oh, I needed to go through all of that to have the sympathy and empathy to help others. But also I needed to go through that to learn nutrition and what nourishes your body so that I could make products and help others learn how to make better products as well. That's why I can't just say like, well, I'm going to be done in a year or 2 years. It's more of a God-driven passion and purpose where I'm like, I'll just let God tell me when I'm done.
I love that. Is there something that you are most proud of at this point?
You know, making products with real food, because no one understands how hard it is. It's literally a challenge every day. So the fact that I can accomplish the challenge literally every day to make this happen, I am proud of that, and proud that others are trying to now learn how to make with real food also.
Have you ever tried red light therapy? At Uplift for Her, we are big fans, and I use it ourselves regularly. Red light therapy helps support energy, healing, reduce inflammation, and improve skin health. And there's more and more data to support that. One of my favorite at-home options is the toolbox, a powerful clinical-grade device that combines red light with near-infrared light, so you're getting both surface level and deeper tissue support. It's easy to use and makes consistent red light therapy actually doable. One of the things that I love about the toolbox is how easy it is and how compact it is. So you can grab it out really quickly, use it while you're in bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and then put it away and not have to unpack a big, complicated device. I use it most nights as I'm going to bed, mostly just for relaxation. I find I feel very calm and wake up with good energy, so it is one of my favorite wellness add-ons. If you're thinking about adding it to your wellness routine, we have a link in the show notes that will save you $250 off of a toolbox. You can also find it on our favorite products page at upliftforher.com. Now back to the show. Now, going back to your own ability to manage your own health habits in the middle of doing all of this, do you feel like it was easier to do that as a young mom when you had little kids at home and managing all of that? Or with now running a company and having bigger kids at home, is there one time that's easier or harder?
Of like living a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah.
Well, there's almost two parts to this. So running a business, I think, is just as busy as having toddlers, because I went and helped my niece a few months ago with 3 little kids, and I was exhausted by the end. I was like, that is so much work. But running a business is a lot of work too. So in either phase, being a new mom or being a working business mom with kids grown out of the house, both, like, it's busy. Everybody's busy. And so I think you could claim that you're too busy in any stage of your life and claim that it's too hard in any stage of your life. It's making it a priority to just get on a health journey and do it, whether you have a newborn or you're running a company. But on the other side of that, because people always tell me like, well, your kids were little when you started your health journey. I now have teenagers. Well, my older 2 boys, they were a little bit older. They were like 10 and 8. And so I get the struggles of trying to convert your kids over to a healthier lifestyle, but I'm like, do the things they'll never know that you're doing different. Like, they won't know you swapped out ketchup. They won't notice if you're adding another fruit every meal, or like, okay, we're going to eat more fruits, you guys. So guess what? At breakfast, you get a fruit, and at lunch, you get a fruit, and at dinner, you get a fruit. No kid's going to be like, this is the worst ever. Yeah. So I'm like, whatever age your kids are, you can get on a health journey. Just, again, make it one little step at a time. You're not going in and throwing out their whole pantry to all of this new, unique, weird stuff. Just one little step at a time, whether they're a toddler, whether they're, 15, 16, 17. You can start it if you make it a priority.
Yeah. Give us a sample day in your life now. I know it's probably wildly different from day to day, but what would an average day be like for you?
They're pretty typical, all my days, I will tell you that. I love my hour in the morning of working out. It's a non-negotiable for me. But
what time do you get up?
I go to the 7 o'clock class, and right after that, on some days, I run to red light. But I actually like my red light time because that's when I do my praying and my meditation and just my stillness for the day. And I get home by like 8:15. And I get my kids ready for school. We have late start time, so they don't leave till 9:15.
Oh,
so
wow.
We do breakfast, make their lunches, get all that, get everybody ready, and then we all leave out the door at like 9:15. And then I go to work and spend my day at work, and then I try to get home at 3:30 when they get home from school so that I'm not the absentee mom, which is a nice flexibility that I have. But and some days it's 4:35. But I come home and do all the mom things. You start running them to golf lessons and to tumbling and to cheer and, make dinner and get homework done and do all the mom things. And then about 7:30, 8, they are old enough that they can get themselves to bed. They don't go to bed that early, but it's quiet time and I get back to work like at 7:30 every night until at least 10:30. And then into bed. So it's really like the same routine over and over every day, but there's non-negotiables of exercising in the morning, my prayer, seeing the kids, providing them nourishing meals throughout the day, working at night, things like that.
Are there any other health habits that you sprinkle in through the day that you feel like are key for you?
I was just talking to some college-age kids, and they were asking me that, and I said, you know what, you guys, because they're like, we're so stressed all the time, and it's always go, 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 and I'm like, it never changes. Like, even when you grow up, it's going to be that way. And I was like, the one thing that I do a lot is I breathe. And I wish everybody would do that. Just like in the car, just take that big, deep breath and release that stress and release that emotion and just let the weight of the world come off of your shoulders for a minute. And I swear that's what helps keep my cortisol levels better and just keeps that stress away. So breathing is huge for me. I will consciously just do it throughout the day, even in meetings. Sometimes I'm just like, oh. And then I really do love, like, adaptogens also are a big part of my day just to help with the stress. And I love adaptogens. And so,
what are your go-tos?
well, we now have it in a supplement, but there's something called the adrenal complex that I love. It's got the ashwagandha in there, to help regulate things like that. So if you say sprinkle things in, it would be breathing, making sure I take my adaptogens or supplements throughout the day. Also, I actually try to really look for the positive in things. I used to be a very negative person after the whole attempt at suicide because of that whole victim mentality but I'm trying to see everything as an opportunity or a gift. And so some of my employees even laugh. They're like, oh my gosh, we have this problem. They're like, oh, no, we have an opportunity to be creative to solve something. And I was like, good shift of your words. So I'm just trying to find the good in everything. And I think that helps with people's mental health a lot. If they can shift from always being so terrible in life to, let's find the good in this.
If you were to look back at that young mom who was struggling and who was negative, is there any piece of advice that you would give her or anything that you would want to go back and say to her?
Okay, well, looking back at that young mom, I actually want to cry. Those years of depression too, I actually hate looking back at me as a mom back then because I was in survival mode. I was just trying to do the best I could to survive, right? And so I hate actually looking back upon those years because I feel like I gypped my kids. And so it's not what I want to tell my younger self, it's what I want to tell myself maybe 10, 15 years ago when I was feeling so much guilt for being that bad mom. I would say there's nothing you can do about the past, so just do better moving forward. Because I think we do dwell on the past a lot, or like, oh, even at the end of the day, right? I've talked to so many moms. At the end of the day, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I should have not screamed so much. Oh, I shouldn't have gotten after him. Oh, I was a bad mom for doing this. Oh, I should have been there earlier at that performance, or oh, I should have fed them this. And I'm like, no way. I have been there and done that. Do not do that to yourself. You give yourself grace and tell yourself, you know what? I did the best I could today. Good job. That was my best for today. Maybe tomorrow my best is going to look different, and maybe my best is going to look better. I don't know. We're so hard on ourselves as moms. So I would tell my past self, like, don't worry about those years that you were in depression trying to survive. Those were survival years.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any part of your journey that was particularly surprising for you in terms of health? Any health habits that really surprised you? You didn't think they would make as much of a difference as they did?
Well,
even now.
Yeah, and we sort of talked about this, but exercise.
Yeah.
I did it because the doctor told me to do it. But again, I was on the antidepressants, couldn't tell that it was doing anything for me. But then whenever I go like a week or two without exercise, I am like craving exercise. I'm like, oh my gosh, people that don't move, you've got to get moving because it just feels so good. And people always think like, oh, exercise is to look like a buff woman and have the perfect body. No, it's to help detox. It's to help those neurotransmitters. It's to help with the hormones. It's to help with the cortisol levels. Like, it's for so many things. And so I think exercise was the most surprising. But the other surprising thing is I don't think I realized how bad I felt until I felt good, because I think we just get in this thought of like, oh, this is how we feel. Like, I don't have this much energy. That's just who I am, or this is how it is. Until you feel good and your gut doesn't hurt and your energy is good, you're like, oh, wow, I really was not feeling well. So I think what's surprising is how good you can feel.
I agree 100%. So many of our patients will come and say, I'm having hot flashes. Can you fix them? Yeah, I can fix them. But then when I take a longer time talking to them, they'll be exhausted. They have joint pain. They feel puffy. They're gaining weight. And those are the things that at the end of working with them, hopefully, I love hearing them say, like, I didn't even know I could feel this good, but we can. And I love that you share that hope, because I want that for people to feel as good as we can. We're not meant to feel bad all the time.
I know. And I think women feel crappy a lot of times, but
you feel as crappy as the person next to you, so you think it's normal.
Yeah, and they chalk it up as like, oh, it's because I have a newborn, or I'm going through perimenopause, or I'm going through menopause. I hear it all the time, like, oh, yeah, well, I'm in my 40s, and so that's just how I feel. And I'm like, no, that isn't what you have to feel like in your 40s.
Don't settle.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a question that you get, or questions that you get more than anything from your audience?
Every single day, I know I'm going to get a question about energy. Crazy enough. They are like, what do you suggest for energy? Every day around 2 or 3, I'm just exhausted. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I do try to teach about energy, because I'm like, people, you do not need a Diet Coke every day at 2 or 3. That is your body screaming for help. And you know all the different things it could be. It's a sign maybe your cortisol's off. It can show that your progesterone is too low. It can show that you need some B vitamins. It can show that you need more protein. I mean, the list goes on and on of why maybe you're feeling that every day. And so I'm like, oh, ladies, listen to that and go help your body. It's not screaming for a Diet Coke. Yeah. So it's funny. It's usually energy. And then lately it's a lot on hormones. And I'm like, I am not a hormone specialist. I can give you a toolbox of some great things that can help your hormones, but also you've got to go talk to a doctor.
What toolbox do you give? What's in your toolbox?
I mean, it's all the healthy living things, right? Like, I think some women don't get enough protein, but at the same time, I don't think they get enough fiber. And at the same time, I don't think they get enough omega-3s. Right? So, at the same time, not enough magnesium. So those 4 especially. For hormones especially, I think they need to be weightlifting and, really working on the exercise. So that, it's regulating the stress, because we know the stress, especially after my whole situation with my sister, I've now learned stress is terrible with the hormones. And so it's all of that. But then I also say part of that toolbox is your blood work, knowing what's going on. Plus, HRT might be one of your tools, but people will then tell me like, well, HRT didn't work for me. And here I am talking to OBGYN about this, but I'll be like, well, did you do all the other things? Because are you getting enough fiber, enough protein? Are you eating Oreos all day? Because if you are eating Oreos all day and not moving and stressing about everything, then yeah, probably that HRT isn't going to help much.
Well, I agree with you. I love everything you're saying. I think, again, it goes back to that idea of people wanting the one thing to find. And the fact is, like you're saying, it's so much more. It's rebuilding our bodies to have everything it needs so that everything works well. I think some people think like, well, what do you do for hormones? But then what do you do for depression? But what do you do for autoimmune disease? It's always the same together. Baseline. And you actually have an analogy, a metaphor that you've used for that with the leaky roof, I think.
Oh, yeah, actually a house on fire.
Yeah, the fire.
Yes, so I always tell people, like, if you have depression or if you have a hormonal issue or you're battling cancer, right? Whatever it is, your body is on fire. Your house is on fire. And if my house were on fire, I wouldn't put one little hose on it and hope that that was going to take the fire out. Yeah. I'd call in the fire department with 7, 8, 9 different hoses, and that would get the fire out. So same thing like in depression, because everybody will ask me like,
what was the thing?
Yeah, what's the number one thing I should do? And I'm like, well, nutrition is going to help, but maybe you need a therapist. Mine wasn't really therapy driven. Mine was nutrition based, but maybe you need a therapist over your trauma. Maybe you need the gym and exercising. Maybe you need, right? Let's try all of them and see what helps. And so I want people to quit thinking there is that one magic pill or that there's that one thing that's going to help them. No, you wouldn't put one hose on that fire on your house. You would bring in 8, 9, 10 hoses. So bring in 8, 9, 10 tools, just like the hormones. Like there's not one thing. You get a toolbox, get all those hoses to help that problem.
Hey everyone, I wanted to hop on here and share a quick update with you. As many of you know, creating this podcast has been such a meaningful part of what we do here, and we are incredibly grateful for every single listener who has tuned in, shared an episode, or sent us a message along the way. That said, we're going to be taking a little break from releasing new podcast episodes for now. This isn't a forever goodbye, just a pause, and before we step back, we wanted to say thank you, truly. If you have enjoyed our conversations, learned something new, or felt supported by any of our episodes, it would mean the world to me if you would send us a quick message and let us know. Hearing from our listeners never gets old and reminds us why we do this. If you feel called, leaving a rating or a review wherever you watch or listen to the podcast is another wonderful way to support the show. And of course, we're always so appreciative when you share episodes you loved with friends or family. And one more thing, if you or your company are interested in partnering with us or sponsoring future episodes when we return, we would love to connect. You can email us at hello@upliftforher.com or fill out the podcast sponsorship form on our website, also linked below in the show notes. Thank you again for being here, for listening, and for being part of this amazing community. We'll see you soon. Are there any success stories that have been your favorite to hear from your followers?
Yes.
Or Just Ingredients customers?
So crazy enough, a couple years ago, we had this sort of joke in the office and with my employees that God was having me do this to bring babies to the earth because I was getting all of these DMs of, I am so excited. I have to tell you this first, but please don't say anything because my family doesn't even know yet. But we've been trying for anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And we changed our lifestyle and what we're eating and we're exercising now. And we're doing all these things. And we just got pregnant and we're so excited. And people that would be like, we did IVF a few times, but then we changed our lifestyle and what we're doing. And we got pregnant on our own. And it was just so many pregnancy DMs that we would laugh and be like, maybe babies needed to get here on this earth or something. Yeah. And that's why I felt prompted to do this. I don't know. So that was our little joke, but those are my favorite. And then also I do get a lot of thank you for sharing your story. I have been in the midst of depression. Because of your story, I went and got help. And it's been a year and I'm now off my antidepressants too. So thank you so much. So those actually make me really tear up and cry because I understand where they've been and how hard of a journey they've worked through to get to where they are now, and just makes me so proud of them. And I wish I could meet all of them personally and give them a huge hug and tell them, good job, you're amazing. And honestly, those are the stories that get me through the haters of okay, there's a purpose in doing this. I need to just keep going, even if the haters are going to hate on me for some chicken nuggets or glyphosate. Glyphosate's the one they all come out at me for. So,
well, and you've made it so easy. I think when people don't know, I get patients who come in, and because we're both Utah-based, there's a lot of overlap there. And I get a lot of patients who are like, I'm just doing whatever Karalynne tells me to do, and I'm feeling so much better. And they'll list these things, and it's all the right thing, but it's such a nice starting point because some people say, I don't know what to do first, and I don't know what my root cause is, or I don't know what my problem is. And that's where, especially your lifestyle advice that you go through of detoxifying your environment and exercising and walking and doing these things, focusing on nutrition, are things that everyone benefits from. And so it has created this really lovely place for people to be able to say okay, well, she said to go for walks, and I don't know if it's going to help my fatigue or my weight gain or my brain fog, but I'm going to do it. And that's been really nice to have people report back.
Oh, you're so nice. Well, thank you. It's all about just people want to know what the perfect answer is. And you don't know what the perfect answer is. Just go try it. Go try the walk and see if it helps the brain fog or the fatigue or, whatever.
Yeah. Well, so what advice would you give to someone who is either starting out or in the middle of their health journey?
I get that question a lot too. And I say, come up with a plan that works for you and nobody else. I mean, there's so much noise out there is what I tell people. And I'm part of the noise, but there's a lot of noise. So I tell people, come up with a plan, meaning, does that mean you're going to, every time you go to the grocery store, make one new swap? Does it mean when you run out of something, you're going to buy that product with something that's a better choice product? Or is it that you're going to find what you eat the most of in your house? Do you eat a ton of fruit snacks and need to make a better choice for your fruit snacks? Go by what you eat the most. Or I went by ingredient is what I did. I started with high fructose corn syrup, and my doctor was like, go look in your pantry of everything that has high fructose corn syrup and replace that with a better product. So I remember going in and being like, Ritz has high fructose corn syrup? I've been feeding my kids this and me, and so then I'd find a better Ritz out there. And it took me a while, and I would do by ingredient. And once I felt like I was a master at that ingredient, I would move on to the next ingredient. And so I say make a plan that works for you, that you'll stick to and do. And I also tell people, it's not an overnight fix. Like when I went by ingredient after ingredient, it actually was probably a couple years of going through all the different ingredients, becoming a pro at that and feeling like I truly swapped everything out of our house. And so just give yourself grace and do it one step at a time. And also the other thing I want to say, because we were talking about this just yesterday, people are like, why do they think they always have to start on a Monday or a new month or the new year?
Yeah.
And a healthy lifestyle, no, just start now. Mm-hmm. Next time you go to the grocery store, make a better choice. Next time you run out of that cleaning supply or deodorant or whatever, make a better choice. It's not a diet. That's what I want to tell people. A health journey is not a diet.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle, and no one's perfect at life. You're learning along this road of life, and you're just trying to make one little change at a time.
Yeah. I don't know anyone that it's been a super quick fix.
Yeah.
It's a journey when I work with people, and my own experience, it was a solid 2 to 3 year journey of really doing these things bit by bit and trying to figure it out for myself and using you. I was behind you. So I was a follower of you and kind of like, oh yeah, that makes sense early on when I was trying to make changes. And there came a point for me when I remember, and I've shared this before, but when I remember going home at the end of a busy work day, and usually it was then home and then homework and dinner and cleanup and bedtime and all these things. And it would just be like so regimented and exhausting. And I remember going home one time and being like, kids, you want to go for a hike? I feel great.
Oh, wow.
I can do that. I have energy to do that. And that was really powerful for me because for so long I was so tired. I was just always so tired. And you don't realize how much that rules your life and how many decisions you're making based on what feel like your body's limitations or your energy restrictions or like, oh, my brain can't handle that. Even to the point of like anxiousness of like, oh, I can't go to that girls' night because like it's too overwhelming for me. Like how many decisions are we making based on limitations? And we all have limitations, but are there some limitations we don't have to have? And that idea of getting your body back and getting your energy back and getting your brain back and your fertility back, those are all things that have been a big part of my journey. It's so powerful. And I love that you teach that and teach people how to do that.
It is powerful. And I think it starts with the mindset of knowing that there's hope out there to change. You can change. Make it a priority. If you make it a priority, then you can get your energy back. You can feel better again.
Yeah.
But it is a mindset of making it a priority and not some new trendy 2-week diet.
Yeah. Last 2 questions here. What are your personal and health goals these days? Do you have something you're working towards there?
For those 2 years before my sister passed, it was to keep my hormones really regulated. Like I'm 50 years old and this is maybe too much info, but I still have a regular cycle. And so I was like, I just want to not go through perimenopause feeling crappy or menopause. Cause I'm like, I'm 50, it's got to come soon.
Yeah.
I don't want to be victim to that of like, oh, I feel terrible all the time or I'm so tired. And so for those 2 years, it was so like everything hormone based I was focusing on. And this past year has been focusing on grief and learning how to process that and how to stay healthy while processing grief. But it's just been like the last month or so that I've really been back to focusing on all the hormonal things. And that is probably just my favorite. And people always ask, well, what does that mean? Well, it's doing that toolbox, like I said, but there's additional things that I just personally like to do. Like
we share those.
I do love red light, and I just feel like that helps hormonally and with the inflammation as well. But I love microgreens. When I'm really trying to focus on my hormones, I'm making sure I get the microgreens, but then also the seeds and the nuts. Like I love the chia seeds and flax seeds. So I'll focus more on those on my diet, making sure I get enough cruciferous vegetables in. Because you can live a healthy lifestyle and not focus on seeds and nuts and cruciferous and red light and stuff. I mean, so it's when I really want to focus on my hormones that I'll just make sure I'm adding a scoop of chia seeds to my oatmeal in the morning and some flaxseed. And it's making a smoothie with some green veggies in there and things like that. So right now it's just focusing on that. And I actually feel really good, knock on wood. And so when people say like perimenopause and menopause is so terrible, knock on wood, I haven't experienced that. So I'm hoping, I don't know, I'm hoping I go through that part of life feeling the best I've ever felt.
I hope so. And if not, you have some tools. But I'm a big believer too that especially with hormones, that the menopause education world right now is kind of a crazy place. And there's so many people that just make it sound like your life is going to come crashing down. And don't worry, we've got HRT.
Yeah.
It's not anything that simple. And so I love that exactly what you're saying is what I tell patients is the better you can care for your body, the more gently it's going to age. And that's what menopause is. It's just an aging transition. And if we can slow down that body's aging, then it's going to transition better. Not necessarily with or without HRT. There's lots of conversation there, but everything you're doing to support your body just in resisting age, antioxidants and fresh fruits and vegetables and nutrients and sleep and managing stress and red light, all of those things just slow down that aging process, hopefully bringing it like airplane down to a gentle landing instead of like a crash down.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, crash landing.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I'm focusing on. And there is a lot of noise out there and your body talks to you. So if you're having hot flashes, go get help or reevaluate what you're doing in your life. Knock on wood, I haven't had hot flashes. So I'm like, I'm hoping that jet is just going to land so smoothly.
Right. I love it.
But then also, I should also say, with that, I have turned my exercise into weightlifting, more weightlifting, because they have, studies showing it's so much better.
Building muscle,
and building muscle and maintaining that muscle, especially as you age. And so,
Well, I have one more question for you, but before that, is there anything else you want to say as we're talking about your journey and so many women who have really looked up to you as kind of a role model of how did you do this? Tell me how I can do it. Is there anything else you want to share with them?
No, my only thing I guess would be is I want people to know there's hope and healing out there. And I want all women to know that you don't have to feel crappy, because I do hear that on a daily basis and everybody just makes an excuse for it. Because the other problem is they're going to doctors and doctors are saying, oh, your blood work looks perfect. It looks great. It's all within range. Well, that doesn't mean, oh, okay, then this is how I'm supposed to feel because my blood work is within range. So this is how I'm always supposed to feel. No, there's so many things out there to help you feel better. And I don't know why it is with women. I mean, you work with women every day, but it's the women that are always dealing with health issues, I feel like. And I just want them to know, go find help. There is hope and healing out there. There's no magic pill. It takes work, it takes effort, but change your mindset that this is a great opportunity you get to focus on your health, to heal. Just make that mindset to go make health the priority, because it will help you live that healthier and happier lifestyle your whole rest of your life.
I think sometimes what people go through in that is like, I don't want to believe that. That sounds so overwhelming. That sounds so hard. This was years ago, but I was talking about your account with a patient and like, she'll break it down for you. She'll tell you, like, you don't have to go figure out which cracker. Just she'll give you the picture and go buy that cracker. And I remember her saying like, no, I can't do that. That's all just too hard. Like, I'm not going down that road. What do you say to people who have a desire to not believe it, who just feels too hard and too overwhelming and like, I just can't go down that rabbit hole?
I know. And I've actually had people that I've met at places flat out tell me, I had to unfollow you because it was too much.
Yep.
And so the problem is I'm trying to teach beginners, but I'm also trying to give advice to those that have hormonal issues that may have not a beginner anymore. You know what I mean? And so it is a lot of information. And so I can see where it can be overwhelming to people, because when I was just learning all the health stuff, I told my doctor, like, tell me one little thing at a time. Otherwise, I'm giving up. So I get that it can be too overwhelming. And so when people tell me that, I just say, then focus on 3 things. sleep, your food choices, and movement. If you can't do anything else, just focus on those 3 things. And then they're like, well, the food is overwhelming. And I said, then make it really, really simple. Just add in more real food. And they're like, well, that's so hard. No, it's add in more fruits and veggies and look at the package. Are those ingredients you know? Okay, then they're real food probably.
Yeah.
So I think we try to make it too complex.
Yep.
And social media makes it very complex. Like, who cares what cracker? Just find the cracker that made with ingredients you recognize.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so just everybody simplify it. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Focus on sleep, movement, and the food choices, and you're going to be way ahead of the game.
Well, thank you for sharing that and for sharing your journey, because I do think that in the social media world, there are lots of influencers who share these really complex routines. Like, here's what I do in a day to make sure that I feel my best. And if, coming from someone who's a working mom, if they're not working, then that's really hard for me, because you'll see them doing it in the middle of the day and I'll be like, well, throw that out the window because I can't do that.
Right.
Or you'll see the folks who aren't moms who are like, I wake up at 5 a.m. and have a 3-hour self-care routine. I'm like, I'm so happy for you. That's not me.
Doable.
And so
Yeah.
I think to hear it from a real person of like, yeah, I do have a lot going on. And I do have a lot of kids, and I'm going to figure it out. I hope that people leave with that amount of hope of it's not going to be immediate, but man, there's so much good that you can do, and you can do it, and you can do it with baby steps, and it will be worth it, and it will make a difference. So thank you for sharing that real world approach too.
Well, and I also say to the women, like, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. And I also tell my employees all the time, stay in your own lane.
Yeah.
Sure, if you're in traffic, you're seeing what's going on in the other lanes, right?
Yeah.
So you're learning from them, whatever, but stay in your own lane. You don't have to do that same routine that someone's doing for 3 hours a day. Find what works for you and do what works for you.
Well, now I really will do the last question. And you leave your podcast with a tradition of asking a question. So I want to ask that question for you because you don't get that chance to answer it quite as often. What have you found to be the most important ingredient in life?
I know that one's so hard because every time I have a guest on and they say theirs, I'm like, oh, that was so good. Because I will hear the gratitude, the love, the curiosity. Well, I love when someone said curiosity. I'm like, oh, that is a good one. So I hear all these other good ingredients. And I've decided my ingredient changes with the phase of life that I'm in or whatever I'm talking about. And so since we're talking about just ingredients today, my ingredient has been trust. Because honestly, I didn't have some big, huge dream to build this big business, right? But I felt prompted. I don't know if your listeners are Christian or whatever, but I felt prompted by God to start this business. And every step along the way, I've had to trust Him because I felt prompted to do something new all the time, many times throughout this business. And I've had to be like, okay, I guess I'll trust you and try it. And it has worked out. And so honestly, Just Ingredients would not be here if I hadn't learned how to trust God. And so trust in Him is my best ingredient with Just Ingredients.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that you did today. And thank you for doing everything that you do as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing their insights and time with us. We are grateful for the incredible support from our sponsors and to all of you listening. We couldn't do this without you. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing on your favorite platform. You can find us on our website, upliftforher.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen. And if you found value here today, please share this episode with someone who would benefit from it. Leave us a comment or give us a review. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Thank you for being part of our community. Stay tuned for our next episode. Lastly, this information is for educational purposes only and not intended to be medical advice.